us and to prepare ourselves spiritually and physically for what is to come. It tells us in the Bible that we are going to face persecution. It tells us in the book of Revelation the saints that were beheaded for the testimony of Jesus Christ. We have to prepare ourselves in our hearts for what is to come. If we start to drift into denial through fear, emotional level stuff, then we are in a dangerous place to be deceived, to receive whoever comes upon the scene in this world declaring false peace, declaring false lying signs and wonders. We are in danger of falling for the deception that's coming through this desperation and fear.
You people are mind controlled. You're under mind control. This is the real agenda right here. This is the real story. There's the American flag subservient to the Vatican. They're flying the Vatican flag. He is on this Cardinal Dolan, Timothy Dolan. This guy's a very, extremely powerful Catholic, one of the most powerful Catholics in America right now. And here he's got Chump and Hillary. But notice the stand here. It's kind of like these two are almost like at attention militarily, and he's kind of at the parade rest or whatever. Thought that was interesting. But notice also the circle of light there above his head, like he's the saint. And here's the two little servants of the Vatican.
Now, what can we say about Donald Trump? Is he bought and paid for, like Clinton? Is he part of the establishment's plan? Is he just candidate number 2? Because they're portraying this idea in the press that they're dead against Trump being in or being selected as president. And it would seem that the New World Order would hate Trump to be the next president of America. But he said a few things at this event which makes me think that he's just one of them.
We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias, to defend religious liberty, and to create a culture that celebrates life.
And then he goes on to say this.
And we've got to come together, not only as a nation, but as a world community. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you. Thank you.
So he's talking about the one world government there.
And we've
world
got
community.
we've got to come together, not only as a nation, but as a world community.
And he says the religious leaders here are to be an example for everybody else.
And the great religious leaders here tonight give us all an example that we can follow.
Okay, I don't think they're probably that good of an example.
In the scriptures that we Jews and Christians and Muslims cherish.
And we've got to come together, not only as a nation, but as a world community.
This cross, this thing, and there's a crown above it. We couldn't make out what these different metals are there on his shoulder. But let me just show you what this thing is. This is the Order of the British Empire, OBE, for God and the Empire. See, what's significant about that? Well, this order, if you do the research into it, you can look into it more, but it's a British Commonwealth order. In other words, it's people that are subservient to the throne of England, the throne of England being subservient to the Vatican. It is basically a Shriner level
of the Holy Father, Pope Francis. His message about rejecting a mindset of hostility, his calls to reduce inequality, his warnings about climate change.
We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias.
Stand up to anti-Catholic bias. Well, then I guess I'm going to be in trouble, huh? Because I'm anti-Catholic. Because I'm against Roman Catholicism. Oh, but he's the lesser of two evils, right? Oh, Hillary's such a wicked, liberal and thinks, and she is, but he'll be so much better. They're both servants of the Vatican. Get it through your thick skulls, people.
And I understand why, because the country is in a state, our country is not great either. The world is changing very fast, and so along comes someone and says, let's make our country great again. I can understand why people would buy that so easily. It plays on a place in people that is getting desperate. But that is the ploy, to feed into that desperation that is building within people, and that's exactly the kind of manipulation that it always does. Just look back at history. History repeats itself. This is the same game with different players. Don't fall for it.
Ravage.
So, folks, this is all in control of the Jesuits. So the joke being here is that Henry Kissinger and the other people that he mentioned are Catholic. I mean, what you're getting told here is the truth in the form of jokes.
And without the amazing support of the many devoted Catholics on stage. Catholics like Henry Kissinger, Howard Rubinstein.
Like all Jews, apparently, and according to the internet conspiracy truthers, the Jews run the world. So this guy's telling you the truth here in the form of a joke.
Well, without the amazing support of the many devoted Catholics on stage. You know, Catholics like Henry Kissinger.
Okay, because they're not Jews, they are Catholic.
Got to come together as he puts up 666.
Not only as a nation, but as a world community.
Come together not only as a nation, but as a world community. He just called for the New World Order, people.
And the great religious leaders here tonight give us all an example that we can follow.
So Trump has been coming here his whole life, apparently, according to this statement here.
But I have great memories of coming to this dinner with my father over the years when I was a young man. Great experience for me.
So this guy, Trump, is definitely on the payroll of Rome. Something odd here happens that I thought was worth mentioning. The camera switches to Trump, and the cardinal standing next to him starts swaying and nudges Trump. So I just thought I'd point this out. Check it out.
Life is your greatest gift to us. Teach us to respect life from its natural beginning to its natural end. Help us to reach out to the marginalized in our society.
So he nudges Trump, and Trump starts nodding.
Life is your greatest gift to us. Teach us to respect life from its natural beginning to its natural end. Help us
And then Trump opens his eyes because he's wondering what's happened.
To reach out to the marginalized in our society.
So the only way to make America great again is not primarily with the ballot box. It is for people to get on their knees and pray that God would intervene in this situation, in the way things are unfolding, because these nations once respected God, but now they're striving after what's wrong, what's evil, what's sinful. And no man, including Donald Trump, is going to single-handedly save or redeem a nation that is turning away from God. Don't make this political. I'm really surprised that 30% of truthers on the main channel made this political. This is nothing to do with politics. This is to do with a spiritual war. This is to do with the Bible. It's to do with prophecy. And we need to pray. That's all we can do. Please don't ask my advice on who or whether you should vote, because that's between you and God. It's your own choice to make. But I'm just trying to warn people that this agenda goes far deeper than it looks. Don't just jump on someone charismatic who comes onto the scene and says everything that our itching ears want to hear, because this is how the trick works. They play society. They play on people's emotions, and it's dangerous.
All right. If you're falling for this Vatican psyop type of a thing, that, oh, he's so much better than she's going to be. He's the first man I've ever heard running for president that said we need to stop anti-Catholic bias. We need to fight against that. I never heard anybody else say that. But you're not convinced, are you? You just got that little ray of hope. Well, I just can't think what would happen if Hillary would get in. I just can't think. Yeah, sure. You need to get right with God, people. Persecution is almost at our doorstep now.
We're having some fun here tonight, and that's good. On a personal note, what an amazing honor it is to be with all of you. And I want to congratulate Hillary on getting the nomination, and we're in there fighting, and over the next 19 days, somebody's going to be chosen. We'll see what happens. But I have great memories of coming to this dinner with my father over the years when I was a young man. Great experience for me. This was always a special experience for him and me to be together. We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias. We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias.
Io vi parlo come fratello. Grazie al Signore perché ci unisca tutti. E avanti, siamo fratelli, perché questo è un miracolo, il miracolo dell'unità è incominciato.
I mean, we could have another 8 years of Hillary Clinton and the worst mess that anybody could make out of a nation. You're going to be held seriously to account by God if you don't vote. And you're going to find that out before this broadcast is over. You're going to be guilty of murder. You're going to be guilty of an abomination of God. You're going to be guilty for every baby that's aborted from this election forward.
And you certainly don't need to be Catholic to be inspired by the humility and heart of the Holy Father, Pope Francis, or to embrace his message.
Till we all come in the unity of the faith. Amen. Amen. Amen.
We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias, to defend religious liberty. America is in many ways divided like it's never been before. And the great religious leaders here tonight give us all an example that we can follow. We're living in a time and age that we never thought possible before. And we've got to come together, not only as a nation, but as a world community.
If there is no more protest, how can there be a Protestant church? Maybe now we're all Catholics again.
You're going to be held seriously to account by God. You're going to be guilty of murder.
We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias.
Till we all come in the unity of the faith. An abomination of God. Amen.
How can there be a Protestant church?
You're going to be guilty of murder.
Of the Holy Father, Pope Francis.
The protest is over. If there is no more protest, how can there be a Protestant church?
I'm a right-wing conservative Christian type. That's how I've always been brought up, and I've always voted towards the right-wing, the party that would be more likely to support Christianity in the right wing. Sadly, there isn't really any of that left in politics, whether it be the UK or the US. There's no real Christianity. That's like saying that Fox is a Christian news network while it airs Lucifer on the other hand. So, just because this is the pre-run to the elections, it doesn't mean to say that we're still not in the season of the end times, that the US and, well, most of the world is turning their back on God. It doesn't change any of that. Don't get caught in the hype. This ties into the making the male look crazy and the female candidate more composed. So again, with that demonising of the male, the age of the woman, all of that. It also ties into the demonizing of the Christian, that a lot of Christians, because he's standing as right wing, are getting drawn into that, but then at the same time being branded as racist, being branded as homophobic, being branded as extremist. And we've got the whole oncoming, what seems to be provocation of chaos.
Knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees, I promise. In the good old days, this doesn't happen because they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, you know, they would not do it again so easily. I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
This man is not free from the agenda. From what I've seen, there's no way he really can't be, when billionaire, rubbing shoulders with the elite and getting to this position in order to be shown across the world and run for president. You don't get to that position without being involved and in some way, shape or form. I'm sorry to say, it's just the truth. So once again, saying things that are intentionally not politically correct to stir up the bucket, whilst we've got all these massive influx of immigration that they've allowed, all of the, allowing all that to happen at the same time, stirring up a sense of patriotism, but with a false candidate who draws the right wing into that and stirs them up, just like they're doing with Alex Jones. Agents of chaos, that's what we'd call them. And people say, well, why would the press be going against them? Hegelian dialectic, scapegoatism. The reason the press would be going against them is because with every hateful statement that this person will make, with every time the press laughs at Donald Trump, to put it simply, that is actually a converted form of them laughing at the right-wing Christians. Do you see the way it works? They're tarring Christians with that racist branding, claiming that they are linked to Christianity, but then at the same time, denying the fundamental principles of Christianity. For example, Donald Trump was asked if he'd ever seek forgiveness, and he pretty much, in so many words, said no. But it is making the left wing probably look a bit more composed, Hillary Clinton, and making the right wing look maniacal, crazy. Even, just the whole comedy act is all a comedy act, which I believe that this is controlled opposition, in order to make the right wing look mentally insane. That is what they are doing over and over again. With every time we keep seeing this over and over, that the right wing is being portrayed, because it links to Christian fundamentalism and evangelical Christianity, they're making the right wing look weak. They're making the right wing look unstable and laughable.
So your mind must be filled with the Word of God when all people persecute you and turn on you. This is no game. church in America is going to suffer so terribly. We will be called things that we're not and persecuted not for being followers of Christ, but for being radical fundamentalists who do not know the true way of Christ, which of course is love and tolerance. You'll go down as the greatest bigots and haters of mankind in history. Your suffering will not be noble.
Agents of chaos, that's what we'd call them. In the third rank, we shall set up our own, to all appearance, opposition. Our real opponents, at heart, aka the Christians, will accept this simulated opposition as their own and will show us their cards. Now, how blatant are we seeing that Christians are being goaded and baited into this seeming opposition? Skipping down. Now, this is what I was saying about the emotions that are being used and the hypersensitivity. Look at this. When a pulse quickens, these hands will lead opinion in the direction of our aims. When a pulse quickens. Emotional impulse. Quickening. For an excited patient loses all power of judgment and easily yields to suggestion. Those fools who will think they are repeating the opinion of a newspaper of their own camp will be repeating our opinion or any opinion that seems desirable for us. In the vain belief that they are following the organ of their party, they will in fact follow the flag which we hang out for them. Be careful, guys. Don't fall for the traps. Peace. God bless.
We have committed to leave past conflict behind us and to move forward by embracing God's call into unity. We have repented for wrongdoings of the past. We have prayed for the healing of wounds. We have prayed for the healing of wounds.
And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast.
Hello, and this is the No Face Movement, and it's October 29th, 2018. And this is part 4 of The Last Pope 2. And a lot of people have been asking me, well, Donald Trump ain't got nothing to do with the last Pope. It's called The Last Pope is because, we're bringing in and showing you guys the last Pope, because all the popes are false messiahs. A lot of preachers are the false messiahs, are Antichrist, because they don't even use the real name of the Heavenly Father. In this video, we are going to expose Donald Trump, the Catholic Church, and the connection that they all have together. We're going to show you the future mark of the beast and the New World implanted system that comes on 2020, October 2020. All right, not just China's new smart chips, smart cities, social order, also United States new Real ID Act that comes in effect October 2020, 2 years from now exactly. A lot of people in the conspiracy theories liked about Donald Trump and supported, saying that he was going against the New World Order. All right, but that's what they made you believe. He is a Jesuit, just like the Jesuit Pope. All right, we got Jesuit Pope in, and we got Jesuit President, Donald Trump. And he ain't the last Pope. Donald Trump ain't ever going to become the last Pope, but this is revealing the spirit of the Antichrist and revealing his endgame here, folks. The Catholic Church, when you put up that diamond, you got the Catholic Church. And when you walk into St. Peter's Square, you see the monument. All right, they control the world's religion. When you walk to Washington, D.C., and you go into the District of Columbia, they got the monument. They control the world's army. When you go to London and you walk into the Crown Royal Empire that they still control, a lot of these countries pay taxes to them, they control the world's wealth. All right, and that's the one-eyed pyramid. Right in the middle is called Bavaria. Illuminati's real name is called the Bavarian Illuminati. So years and years, freedom of speech is getting taken down. Donald Trump is like, oh yeah, I'm for it, but really he's not. He's against you people. He's a billionaire. He was never poor in his life. And he's part of that hierarchy of elite people. He got bailed out. We're about to expose him here. So this is what happened. So the Illuminati, because everything you see on TV is about Trump. Trump this, Trump that, Trump that. Like they're disrespecting him, right? But Trump wants that. All right? And people that really go against Donald Trump, they end up dead. They don't have a job. All right? Look at John McCain. Where is he? Rest his soul. But look at him. He ain't there no more. Anybody that went against Donald Trump is either dead in prison or ain't got a job right now or is ridiculed to the max. Donald Trump was the puppet that you point your finger out, but he's doing what they're telling him to do. He is part of this secret society, and he's changing laws like no one's business. All right. If you imagine you own the Illuminati, and people on the internet figure out your plan, the next person you put in charge, what they did, they make the media hate them so you could go against them because they figured this out. If you hate that person and the Illuminati, and you already know who the main people of the Illuminati are, start ridiculing him, like Donald Trump, then you're going to say, oh yeah, he's part of the society that wants to go against him. Wrong. He's not. So let's expose Donald Trump and who rescued him so he could be in the position of the President of the United States. The Rothschilds did. The head people, the Rothschild, the Rockefellers, helped Donald Trump be the president. He even listens to Henry Kissinger's. You've seen the video before this, and you're going to see the video after this with the 2020, the mark of the beast, the 10 heads, the 10 different unions. You got the North American Union, you got the European Union, the Asian. There's going to be 10 different world when this comes in effect soon in 2020. You're going to have 10 different regions of the world headed by 7 different governors or presidents or kings. All right, so in 1987, FTC pursued Donald Trump. A lot of time when the Federal Trade Commission pursue billionaires or they think that they're scamming the system, they actually bring those people in, fine them a little bit, but then tell them to come up with a law so they don't do it again for the federal government. Because the federal government ain't even part of the United States of America. The federal government are the international banks. All right, and you can read it, what happened to Trump, what he did, the little scam that he did, but there was no law at the time. So then he came in and helped the government create the law. Let's move on. All right. Getting Donald Trump out of debt. The 25-year-old ties to buying Trump and Wilbur Ross. America's first billionaire president is riding into the White House with popular support, and he's bringing some billionaire friends with him. One of them is distressed asset investor William Ross, who is Trump's pick for Commerce Secretary. The two have a history that spans more than 25 years. Trump made a bold bet on Atlantic City. This is when he went bankrupt. When he opened a third casino there, the Khaleesi Taj Mahal, in April 1999, even riskier, he financed the project with $675 million in junk bonds at 14% interest rate. Within months, Trump was struggling to make the massive bond payment as Atlantic City floundered. And Ross then head of Rothschild's Incorporation bankruptcy. You see that? So now, here we go. This is proven fact. So Donald Trump got bailed out by Mr. Ross here. He's the head of Commerce Service, but at the time he was the head of the Rothschild's income bankruptcy advising team to represent bondholders who were pondering forcing the casino into involuntary bankruptcy and ousting Trump. Ross saw crowds press against Trump's limo windows to get a peek at the mogul and realize the value of Trump's celebrity. He struck a prepackaged bankrupt deal. So since Trump was so popular, the head of the Rothschild bank said, he's so popular, we're going to come up so he get out of bankruptcy and don't have to pay us back. And he struck up the package of bankruptcy. Trump would give up 50% of his stake in the Taj, but would receive better debt terms and would remain in control. The Donald was back in business. He also made similar deals for his other troubled properties and climbed out of debt back onto the Forbes 400. Ross went to private equity in 2000, forming W.L. Ross & Company. He still runs it, but he sold it to investment firm Invesca in 2006 for some $375 million. In 2013, He partnered with Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and others to buy 5 industrial properties from the Jehovah Witness in Brooklyn for $240 million, including property 666 Fifth Avenue. Nearly all of Trump's wealth is tied up in real estate, but he has also owned stocks, one holding, according to May 2016, filing between $250,000 to $500,000 worth of Invesco European Growth Fund Class-wide shares. All right, you go on, it's going to tell you how much he invests and everything. All right, so this is the guy right here, right? Wilbur Ross. Let's go to him. Let's see what Wilbur Lewis Ross Jr. is, the American investor and the current United States Secretary of Commerce. He's in power, folks. The guy that was head of the Rothschild bankruptcy, the banks, and all this stuff. The president, look. He, right now, as we speak, is the United States Secretary of Commerce. And this is what happened, folks. So Donald Trump went bankrupt. All right. And when he went bankrupt from the Taj Mahal, Ross, the Rothschild, the Rockefeller, just Google it yourself, prove me wrong, prove me right, I don't care, but it's the truth. They went up to his Fifth Avenue Trump Tower. They sat down. Trump gave up almost all his properties to just lease out his name. All the buildings that you see with Trump name on it, he don't own those buildings. All he's doing is leasing his name for millions of dollars a year. All right. And the people that invested, that build a property with it, are the Rothschild, the Rockefellers. All right, folks. And this is one way we are showing that Donald Trump is part of the Illuminati. I can't believe no one else out there that do all these conspiracy theories think that Donald Trump is for the United States of America and for the people. This is the first proof that you will see that Trump is part of this elite group. He has the head of the Rothschilds and his own company and an investor, Wilbur Lewis Ross, part of our government, United States Secretary of Commerce. Still to this day, folks. All right, so when you see the fake news, because they are fake news, Trump's right about that, but he switched it up so it looks like he's a bad guy, right? So they point the finger, so all you people out there be, oh, he's for us. He's really for us. He's going against the system. Really, the system said, if we just keep saying BS about this guy, because come on, look at everything that he was charged with or anything. If this was any other person that was in power in office, they've been impeached right now. But since he is part of the Illuminati, and you've seen the videos, since he's part of the secret society, all right, and he's at the very top and got the spirit of the Antichrist. All right, one of the people that got the spirit, including the Pope that you see in the video, but he ain't a good person, folks. All right, we're going to expose other stuff. We're going to put warnings and watches out for our economy to collapse next year. We're about to show you why, because he sound alarms to the investors. All right, but Donald Trump, yes, he is part of the secret society, the elite. So get that out your head, that he's trying to change America. He's going to make it worse. Anyone that ever went against him is dead, in jail, broke, or can't even work again. And anyone that's stuck up, that's part of that conspiracy theories, saying that Trump is for that, look at them. They can't even have radio shows on YouTube, posts on Facebook, nothing like that. And what did the president did? Nothing. Because he got rid of the people that talks about conspiracy theories. So they won't point their finger at him. Because Donald Trump, this is your first thing, got bailed out by the Rothschilds. Became famous. All right. They threw him on TV to brainwash you people. All right. Now he's the president of the United States of America. And he says he's against the media. And the media says he's against Trump. But really, they're both in the same thing. He's a Jesuit. He's doing this on purpose to fool you folks. So check out the next video, The Mark of the Beast. It's part of this, part 4. We're going to show you what's going to happen in October 2020. around the world, because you hear about the social credit system China's coming out. Well, the social credit system is also rolling out October 2020. It's called the Real Act Law, where you got to have a special thing to go to courts, pay your bills. They could track you through your face with the CCTV. This is the No Face Moon. Please like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, now on Reddit. We're about to come with live shows in a few months. We're building up a studio, so subscribe. All right, and it's time to move the movement. This is the movement. We're moving to next time. Facing off. My bad, one more thing. The FCC has created the internet for the elite. All right, so on top of that, let's see what else is going on. My mind's so caught up on Trump right there. I'm sorry. So before we leave, on December the 14th, the Federal Communication Commission voted to roll back the rules that uphold net neutrality. The principle that the internet service provides must allow equal access to the web content regardless of source. While some on the FCC argue the decision will boost economic growth, the only thing we know for certain is that it's eliminating the net neutrality will make internet service look more like cable TV. All right, so instead of having free channels, they're going to get rid of it. That's why everything's YouTube, Facebook. It's turning into the TV, the internet. And who's the president that's doing Twitter and all that? President Trump, and he's supporting these things. The FCC is making the internet for the elite. While he's the president, he can stop this, but all these internet companies are getting rid of people that talk about conspiracy news, trying to give you alternate news, the freedom of speech, trying to give you an alternate news than the ones that they make up. Also, isn't it kind of weird how US and Canada made a new NFA deal? That happened this year. All right. Also, cell phone users all of a sudden remember that president alert, the first federal alert throughout the whole United States of America? All right, folks, you remember that at the beginning of the month in October? All right, you don't think that's kind of weird? 4 U.S. city launches 5G networks. All right, and you've seen the other video I did. There's proof that it caused cancer, that every single other street's going to have a 5G tower so the internet could go that fast. All right, and it all started in Sacramento, Houston, Indianapolis, and LA. And it causes cancer to 5G. All right. New York, Trump, remember, he also helped his parents evade taxes. All right. And they have proof on that, folks. And look at this. No one can stop Donald Trump. If this was any other president, any other leader, they would have kicked him out, tossed him to the curb. With Donald Trump, who cares? Let him do what he do. All right, so we're going to bring you later on a whole bunch of other videos. I'm just trying to went through this kind of fast. So on top of this, you got the FCC that's creating the elite internet through Donald Trump. They signed the law. U.S. and Canada this year reached the NFTA deal, North American Free Trade Act, including with Mexico now. And they're sending right now, as we speak, 5,000 United States troops to protect our border. All right. And cell phone users now, if any kind of emergency happen, could get a text from the President of the United States. All right. And you got the new 5G. This is what 5G is going to let you do. They can brainwash you, mind control you. You've seen other videos. You've seen the original Pope. One that I made in 2013. These are all facts, folks. All right, this is the No Face Movement. Move until next time, facing off.
The Vatican has long used the United Nations to implement its form of communism. The Vatican's form of communism is found in the Sustainable Development for the Global Goals. Catholic.org. In an interview to Messaggero, the Pope asked about the blog post in The Economist magazine, which described him as a Leninist, for his criticism on capitalism, calling for radical economic reform. Quote, "I can only say that the communists have stolen our flag." End of quote.
When his host, President Evo Morales, handed him an unusual gift, a wooden hammer and sickle crucifix, It's a classic communism symbol, frequently worn by a Jesuit priest.
The Vatican set the framework for this form of communism at the United Nations through the encyclical Laudato Si. This framework established the direction for the Sustainable Development Goals for 10 world regions through the United Nations. China is the best implementer of Catholic social doctrine, says Vatican Bishop, February 6, 2018. The Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences praised the extraordinary communist state. Quote, "Right now, those who are best implementing the social doctrine of the Church are the Chinese," end of quote, a senior Vatican official has said. The bishop told the Spanish-language edition of Vatican Insider that in China, quote, "the economy does not dominate politics as happens in the United States, something Americans themselves would say," end of quote. Bishop Sarando said that China was implementing Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si better than many other countries and praised it for defending Paris Climate Accord. Quote, "in that it is assuming a moral leadership that others have abandoned," end of quote, he added. The Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences is praising the communist country for implementing Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si, which is a sustainable development. This is the model of that in China. This model in China, with the ID 2020 project for a national ID database being instituted for mass tracking as a part of the ID 2020 project, also supported by the Vatican. This global ID registry is a part of the Mark of the Beast technology. This has to do with social responsibility, the economy, and the environment, tracking everything in the supply chain. The social responsibility of the sustainable development seen here is what the Vatican was praising in China for implementing the social rewarding system in the video. This is what the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences is referring to. One of the excuses that the Vatican has is that they can eradicate slavery by 2020 by using a global ID registry globally. This is why the Bible says that both free and slave will have the mark. Vatican address to highlight Bitcoin use in slave trade, November 5th, 2017. The Vatican is soon to host an address on how Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are being used in the modern-day slave trade. The discussion on these subjects was headed up by the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences as well. The second of the 3-day-long event itself is part of an even larger part of an effort led by Pope Francis to eradicate slavery entirely by 2020. The Sustainable Development Agenda is the goal of mapping out the Earth into 10 regions and monitoring them by artificial intelligence for both environment and economy, by mandating the biometric ID implants called the Mark of the Beast. The 7 heads of the beast are the G7 nations, and they are pushing for the lead in the sustainable development for the global economy. This is the platform for the 7 heads and the 10 horns in the prophecy in the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 13 verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. The 7 heads of the beast are the 7 kingdoms known as the G7: Italy, France, Germany, Britain, Canada, Japan, and the United States. Revelation chapter 17 verse 9. And here's the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. These 7 mountains are 7 powerful kingdoms. Likewise, God called ancient Babylon a mountain because it was a powerful kingdom as well. Jeremiah 51:25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyeth all the earth. I will stretch out mine hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and I will make thee a burnt mountain. God calls his kingdom the great mountain, because it is the greatest kingdom of all. Daniel chapter 2, verse 35. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, and no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is how we know the 7 mountains are 7 powerful kingdoms. The G7 is leading in the sustainable development in the global economy. GulfTimes.com, May 22, 2016. G7 Summit will focus on sustainable growth. G7 leaders will discuss the next steps towards the implementation of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals set out in the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development adopted in September 2015. Revelation chapter 12, verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. The 7 crowns on the 7 heads are the G7 leaders of these 7 kingdoms. Now looking to the 10 horns. Revelation 17, 12, and 13. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These 10 kings have yet to be given dominion over their 10 kingdoms. These 10 kingdoms have been prepared through the sustainable development. The Club of Rome has long been working towards the dividing of the planet into 10 regions for the monitoring of the planet's resources for the sustainable development goals. Edward Pastel and Mihaljo Mesarovic had long worked towards the dividing of the planet into 10 regions and monitoring the planet using computer analysis. In their report, Mankind at the Turning Point, the second report to the Club of Rome, in their report, it says, the second report seeks to show that the world is at the end of an era of independence and that an integrated plan of controlled organic growth is called for to combat recurrent crises. Section 8. Limits to independence. 8.1. Given that global cooperation offers a much more favorable probability for future development than conflict, all nations must face up to the corollary of increasing interdependence, which entails an era of limits to independence. Section 9. A possible solution. 9.1. The computer analysis of the world food problem takes account inter alia of differing regional dietary requirements, the availability of type of food in the various regions, of climate and cultural factors, the lack of essential dietary components, the type of land and amount available, the existing economic and human resources. Section 11. Epilogue. 11.2. A new global ethic is required comprising A. Individual awareness of membership of the world community, B. Responsibility in the use of material resources, and C. A harmonious relationship with nature. In William Cooper's book, Behold a Pale White Horse, released in 1991, there is a Club of Rome report that talks about the 10 divided regions, and specifically mentions Pastel and Mesarovic as the authors. This map released in 1991 is very similar to the map released in 2009 in the Sustainable Development Report. Pastel and Mesarovic is also mentioned in the book Crisis of Global Sustainability by Tapio Kaninen. The Birth and Evolution of the Club of Rome on page 11 talks about the 10 divided regions. In the book Integrated Global Models of Sustainable Development Volume 2, edited by Akiri Anishi in 2009, on page 107, it details these 10 regions. Taking into consideration that the climate change issue is of genuine global character, we need another technologically detailed energy model, which covers all world regions on the globe. In response to this specific need, on the basis of New Earth 21 model, Dynamic New Earth 21 model has been developed with the basic framework described in the following sections. The technological potentials are often constrained by regional factors such as sectoral structure of energy consumption and the availability of natural resources. For a logical and consistent technology assessment, it is necessary to identify energy systems of different world regions. Dynamic New Earth 21 was formulated as a multi-regional model, and the whole world is geopolitically divided into 10 regions as seen in Figure 1. The Global Innovation Exchange.org suggests the system change for Professor Akira Onishi's model. Creating an electronic United Nations, EUN. Paris Climate Pact in December 2015 was a historical success with 195 nations pledges to reduce the greenhouse gases warming. Their pledges need to be improved significantly with rigorous simulation studies as interlinking their models together via broadband internet as forming the Electronic African Union and ultimately the Electronic United Nations. This will provide regular and transparent global cooperation with collective and shared responsibilities in democratic fashion. The goal here for the sustainable development is to make every individual accountable for both their environmental impact and their economic impact in the 10 regions, and to have them tracked by artificial intelligence. TechRepublic.com. United Nations CITO. Artificial intelligence will be humanity's final innovation. The United Nations Chief Information Technology Officer spoke with Tech Republic about the future of cybersecurity, social media, and how to fix the internet and build global technology for social good. Artificial intelligence, said United Nations Chief Information Technology Officer Atifa Rizi, might be the last innovation humans create. Quote, the next innovations, end of quote, said the cabinet-level diplomat during a recent interview at her office at UN headquarters in New York, quote, will come through artificial intelligence, end of quote. Quote, from our perspective, our mission is really peace and security, development of human rights. The UN has a number of responsibilities. We have peacekeeping, human rights, humanitarian affairs, and sustainable development, end of quote. This will be the excuse to be able to track and monitor everything for these regions. The Club of Rome has been working directly with the Vatican on these projects. Hans-Joachim Schellenhuber, a Club of Rome member, is closely working as an advisor to the Pope Francis on the climate change agenda. Schellenhuber helped Pope Francis draft Laudato Si for the climate change agenda. This became the Sustainable Development Guidelines that were implemented by Barack Hussein Obama and Pope Francis at the United Nations in September of 2015.
It wasn't long before he appeared before the Senate Subcommittee on Internal Security. He also had stopped a parade in front of the White House, showing his marked body as evidence of the fact that persecution was still going on and that communism was still an insidious threat against those who believed in freedom and in Jesus Christ.
I had children like you. One day I was kidnapped from the street by the communists, and I didn't see my children again for 14 years. The worst times came, the times of brainwashing. Who has not passed through brainwashing can't understand what torture it is. 17 hours a day you have to sit like this and hear. Communism is good, communism is good, communism is good, communism is good, communism is good. These days, weeks, years, we had to listen to these things. And now when the worst came, and I don't wish to tell you words, because I know you have much communist propaganda in America, and some don't believe words. I will show you the tortured body of my fatherland and of the underground church behind the Iron Curtain. Just look here.
These 10 unions are similar to the Soviet Union of old. The Vatican during World War II took Hitler and a nationalist, socialist, bloated economy, hardline Germany, into a fascist, nationalist, protectionist country in order to engulf the economy of Europe into a Marxist, communist, post-collapse revolution. This is how the European Union was formed. In the book, The Vatican and Italian Fascism, 1929-32, page 30, it says, quote, for it is clear that the Vatican, like other sections of the Italian establishment, was convinced that if fascism fell, it would be followed by a communist revolution, end of quote.
Now, for decades, there have been allegations about how Eugenio Pacelli, better known as Pope Pius XII, collaborated with the Nazis before and during World War II. Of course, the Vatican has always denied these charges, but they've kept their records locked up. They haven't allowed scholars to truly investigate the relationship between Pope Pius XII and Adolf Hitler. Well, all that changed 7 years ago when Cambridge University historian John Cornwell was given access to the secret Vatican archives. Now, Cornwell was a good Catholic. He'd written a best-selling book about the death of Pope John Paul I, and the Vatican fully expected him to exonerate Pius XII. Indeed, Cornwell himself hoped that the rumors about Nazi collusion were untrue. But to his horror, he found the opposite. Document after document proved that Eugenio Pacelli, the man who became Pope in 1939, stands as a monumental moral failure. A man more concerned with centralizing church authority than with the murder of millions of people. A man not only complicit with the rise of the Nazi Party, but according to Cornwell, a man whose silence about the fate of the Jews betrayed a deeply embedded anti-Semitic attitude.
Post-World War II, a New World Order agent by the name of Henry Kissinger continues to advise presidents and work with the Vatican to implement a New World Order. There was a report from the CIA from a top KGB defector who helped the CIA, and he had noted that Henry Kissinger was a communist agent recruited as far back as World War II. Henry Kissinger had an excerpt from his book called World Order that was published in the Wall Street Journal. In it, he noted, quote, "The contemporary quest for world order will require a coherent strategy to establish a concept of order within the various regions and to relate these regional orders to one another." End of quote. This is talking about the 10 world regions, and one of these regions is commonly referred to as the North American Union. The North American Union is not fully formed. NAFTA is a part of the framework for the North American Union. Kissinger acknowledged in the Los Angeles Times about NAFTA, quote, "will represent the most creative step toward a new world order taken by any group of countries since the end of the Cold War," end of quote. And NAFTA, quote, "is not a conventional trade agreement," end of quote, he asserted, quote, "but the architecture of a new international system," end of quote. Kissinger advised Obama, who set up the socialist nationalist bloating in the United States just like World War II. The same method of the creation of the European Union will be used in the United States and the North Americas. Kissinger is also advising Donald Trump to push the Leninist Bolshevik-style revolution using nationalist protectionism in order to crash the current system, causing a counter-revolution for communism called the Sustainable Development. This will help form the North American Union.
It's an honor to have Dr. Kissinger with us. A man of immense talent and experience and knowledge, and I'm going to talk to him for a while, and we're going to learn a lot.
I'm here at a moment when the opportunity to build a constructive, peaceful world order is very great.
Henry Kissinger has been a friend of mine. I've liked him, I've respected him, but we've been friends for a long time. He's a man I have great, great respect for. Everybody knows Dr. Kissinger, and we're right now talking about Russia and various other matters.
His basic philosophy and approach to national defense and foreign policy is close to the Kissinger-type model.
This is why you see Donald Trump fast-tracking the border mechanism for the exit and entry biometrics. This is also why you see the ID 2020 project being implemented in the United States by October 1st, 2020 under Donald Trump. Do not be deceived. This nationalist ID registry is the Mark of the Beast registry. Donald Trump is a globalist helping set up the Mark of the Beast systems prepared by Obama and the Pope. Donald Trump is controlled opposition of the globalists working towards a new world order.